What is up, guys? I'm back with another Amazon video, and in this video I actually have something really special planned for you guys, and I'm actually doing an interview with a fellow Amazon employee. He actually has a lot more experience working at an Amazon warehouse than I do. He's actually spent the last year and a half at a delivery station, whereas I've only ever been at a fulfillment center, and currently he's at an L3 process assistant position, which is higher than what I'm at right now. So yeah, I think he's going to be able to give you guys a lot of insight about Amazon outside of the fulfillment centers. And he's also going to be able to provide you guys with a lot of other information like promotions, benefits, and basically the entire application process. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to go over all these different topics in this video. So if you're interested in a specific part, I'm going to have timestamps in the description box. So if you click on that, it should take you straight to that part in the video. So yeah, I think I'm going to learn a lot by talking with someone of higher position than I am, and I hope you guys do too.
All right, hey guys, we got our first ever guest speaker here, Gio. Welcome to the channel. Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, like with regards to the job? Like, when did you start working at Amazon, and how did you decide that this is the right job for you?
All right, so as you guys know, my name is Gio. I've been working for Amazon for about a little over a year and a half. I started in March of 2019. I originally went into the job thinking that I wasn't really it was just gonna be like a side hustle until, I could get back to school and start kind of finding my footing. But I actually really started enjoying the job to the point where I felt like I could make a career out of it. And I've still taken a pause on school for now, especially because of times right now. But overall, there's a lot of opportunity in Amazon, especially since they're constantly expanding into other markets. So right now is a pretty good time to start seeking higher opportunities in Amazon and make a career out of it. And they pay pretty well, especially for people who aren't going to school or who haven't finished school. And then because Amazon loves their college students, they'll actually offer and pay up to I think it was 80 or 90% of your classes, including like material, things like that. So you can continue studying as long as you're studying under a major that they want you to be in, essentially.
Did you ever think about doing that, taking up on that tuition offer that they have?
Oh yeah, 100%. The only issue is I believe the requirement is you have to be with Amazon for 2 years in order to actually take advantage of that. But I'm almost there, so as soon as it comes around to my 2 years, I plan on not only going to school and taking up Amazon on their offer for their tuition program, but also trying to be a manager or a shift manager. That way I can continue moving up while still going to school. And in the interviews that I might have, it'll just look a lot better because I'm obviously trying to not only get a degree, but I'm also trying to move up at the same time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that'd be really cool if you were able to do that. I know for me, I just started working there and I go to college. I'm planning to return. So for me, if I were to do that, I'd have another year and 3/4 left to be able to qualify for that. So for me, it's a little bit longer, but you're further along in the process than I am, so that's good. So if you guys didn't know, Gio actually commented one of my videos, so that's how I was able to find out about him. He commented saying that he has a lot of information about Amazon. He's been there for a while, and I thought that would be a really good way to be able to bring him onto the channel and give you guys a lot more information. So another thing I wanted to ask is in the comment that you put on the video, you mentioned how you're familiar with different types of buildings that Amazon has, I think it was the delivery, the distribution, and the fulfillment center, which is where I'm at. So if you could give us a little bit more detail about those different types of buildings, not only for myself, but also for all the viewers out there.
Of course. So the FCs where you're at right now, so when you order a package, they always start at the FC. That's where they get packaged and that's where they get sent out. The second stage of delivery happens when they get dropped off at a sortation center. And what they do at sortation centers is, so when the FCs load up these trailers and send them out to the sortation centers, they're not organized at all. They're just kind of throwing them in there basically. So the job of the sortation center is to start organizing the packages and putting them into Gaylords or go-karts or whatever it is that we have available, and pallets and things like that, and organizing it by stations. So they'll organize it by DCX1. All the packages that are going to DCX1 go to DCX1, DCX8, DLA5, DLA7, things like that. So that's basically all they're really doing at sortation centers. That's kind of the middle point of that package that you ordered. The final stage or the final warehouse that they go to is what's called a delivery station, which is the one that I have the most experience with. what they do there is they get the trailers from the sortation centers and they unload them. They sort them based off area codes and cities and addresses. They prep these routes up for the delivery drivers, so the drivers that you see in the vans, and then they set up these routes for them, and then they ship them out. And that's kind of like how the whole process goes as far as when you order a package. That's kind of what the package sees until it hits your doorstep. So on average, your package may hit 3 warehouses. On a rare occasion, if there's a delay, you'll hit 4 warehouses because it might have spilled open, so they have to send it back to the FC, and then it comes back to the delivery station or the sortation center, depending on usually it kind of depends on how they do it. So our delivery station, we would have a guy that would come in to pick up any damaged packages or any packages that were sent to the wrong station, and they would take it directly to the next station that's supposed to go to rather than sending it back to the FC. So sometimes you'll see your package hit 3 warehouses like everyone else. Sometimes it'll hit 4 to 5 warehouses.
Oh, good. But that's a lot more information than I knew originally. And would you say when like a viewer or someone applies to Amazon, do they get to know which type of location they're going to be at, or is it kind of like random?
So the application process is typically you'll see like a little description of what it is you're doing, and that's how you can kind of tell, but you won't really know the name of the building, unfortunately. So like, for example, when I was first applying, I didn't know that I was going to be at a delivery station. I knew that I wasn't going to be at an FC, but I didn't know what the hell else was there for Amazon. I thought the FCs were the only thing that Amazon had, but I found out that they had sortation centers, delivery stations. They have like third-party companies in the delivery stations. Quick fun fact, every delivery driver you see out on the road is not actually hired by Amazon. They are hired by third-party companies.
Really?
A lot of people don't actually know that.
Yeah, I think I read about that. I originally thought that all the delivery people were hired by Amazon themselves, but ends up they're being like contractors.
Yeah, and they also make pretty decent money. From what I understand, if they have an 8-hour route and they finish it in 6 hours, you still get paid for your full 8 hours.
Oh, really? Wow.
So if you can finish your route early, you'll still get paid for your full day.
Okay, so and just like going off of that, if you were a delivery driver, is there like a set number of packages that you are assigned to like to complete during the day, or is it like
it varies because every driver gets a random route. So at a delivery station, if you have a typical DSP route, which is the big vans that you see driving around, you'll have usually about 8 to 9 bags on average of these packages, 8 to 9 bags full of packages, and they usually contain about 30 to 40, sometimes even 50 packages each. And then you have the bigger boxes, which depending on the route can be anywhere between 5 to 10 packages to 20 packages. So in total, you could be delivering maybe 80 to 90 packages, if not more. On a good day, you'll hit 80 to 90. On like a really busy day where it's kind of like you got a really big route, you'll be delivering 120 to 150 packages maybe. And if you're doing a flex route, those are a lot smaller because those are for regular drivers. Those are for, like, for example, you can do a flex route in your car. They're usually about maybe 30 to 40 packages. And they're usually done in about anywhere between 2 hours to 4.5 hours max. So it just kind of depends on the route. It's all kind of randomized. But if you're a van driver, you're always going to get a DSP route. And if you're working for flex, you're always going to be getting a flex route. It's never going to intertwine.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah, I honestly had no idea about how the delivery stuff works, so it's pretty good to be able to get a perspective like from yourself about those. All right, so and another thing you talked about in your comment on YouTube, which I read, you're saying how you started off at a position where I'm at, which is at the associate level, and you were able to get a promotion. So can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing when you were at my position and about how long you were doing that, like what type of building you were at, what you were doing basically on a regular basis, and then what you do now as a processing assistant?
So when I first started, the first thing I did after my training was when I started at the delivery station, we have a process called stowing. And so the way stowing works is you'll have a rack full of packages that a person's like taking off the belt and throwing onto the rack. Your job is to scan those packages and put them into these bags to get them ready for the drivers. And you're doing that. We did that for about 2 hours, 3 hours, because during that time when I first started, our shift was only 4.5 hours. More recently, before I had left that station at DLA 7, they gave us more hours. So we were working 6.5 hours. So our stow time was about 3 hours. So I was just doing that for 2 hours when I first started. I would do all the other processes as well, the more physical labor. So I would grab the packages from the belt, put them onto the conveyor, or put them onto the racks. I would do what's called diverting, which is like you push one package to like E side and you bring the package to D side. So that way the people who are taking the packages off the belt don't get confused. I would unload packages on the dock. I would use the Avery scanners to make sure they have the correct label so that when they go up, they know exactly where it's going. Water spidering, so taking out pallets, gaylords out of the trailers, setting them up for the unloaders. Anything that we would consider basic level associate things, that's what I was doing. And then eventually I started putting myself out there more and I started wanting to learn more. And I kind of pestered my shift assistant at the time to let me do what's called problem solving quality. So that for us, problem solving quality would be like, this package was scanned in the wrong location. We have to go take it to the right location. Make sure it gets scanned in and we're good to go. The other thing that we did was repackaging. So if the package is fine, but the box is kind of crushed, we would repackage it and send it back to where it's supposed to go. So I started learning how to do that, learning how to take things back to the FC, setting up for like crash sorts, which are basically the second sort if we don't finish our original sort. Pulling TBAs from trailers into a Excel file and making sure that every package had a route and things like that. And I would get taken off there, but I would constantly come in at 6 a.m. because my shift started at 6:45. I'd come in at 6 a.m. and ask my shift assistant almost every single day, can I be on problem solving quality? Can I be on problem solving quality? It got to a point where he was annoyed and he just left me on there. And then from there, it was just kind of a straight shot up because I kind of handled it really well. I became the problem solving quality lead, which and that evidently they had me do things like floor leading and dock leading, which is basically ensuring that everyone out on the floor is like doing the process safely, efficiently, clearing jams as fast as possible, checking in trailers, checking out trailers, things like that. So pretty much anything that a shift assistant would be doing before they became an official shift assistant. So it kind of took me a while to be able to do all that. Especially because it was a rocky road for me, because at one point I did let the power kind of get to me, but I was quickly slapped on the wrist for it. Every time I was doing something wrong, they quickly steered me in the right direction, and I was able to finally start training up to be a shift assistant. I finally got that trust from my managers and my other shift assistants, and they started training me up to get to their level.
So how long were you at the delivery station stowing position before you were able to get to that shift assistant position?
So my gradual come up took from the stowing position to like the regular level 1 stuff to the quality stuff, it took about 2 to 3 months. And then from quality to becoming a lead took about 4 months. And
now you're the lead, right?
Yeah, I became a lead, and ever since then, I've been basically the lead, and up until I was leaving my warehouse, because then they needed to find a replacement for me, so they just threw me back into the stow function and tried to train other people up.
Okay, that actually leads me to my next question. For you, I actually wanted to know a little bit more about how promotions work, because I think a lot of people out there who are starting at Amazon or who are planning to work at Amazon are looking not only to like stay at the associate level at the bottom position forever, they want to be able to progress and make Amazon a career like you have. So if you could like tell us a little bit more about how the promotions work, what can you expect, and like the entire process, and basically like the ladder from start to end.
Okay, so first step is to see if you can get access to a laptop, and there's a website that Amazon has. It's kind of like an in-network website called Job Finder. When you get into Job Finder, you'll see, and the problem with Job Finder is you don't really have access to the positions outside of an Amazon network. So you have to be inside an Amazon building to actually have access, like complete access to Job Finder, which is kind of annoying because some of the stuff you'd rather do at home, but they kind of force you to do it at the warehouse. So it kind of sucks. But on Job Finder, you'll find all the different L3 positions, L4 positions, L5 positions, whatever positions that are available. You can search it based off cities, states. If you want to move out of state, they help you out a lot with that, including like living expenses and things like that. So that's like step one is finding out a way to get on Job Finder, finding out where you want to go, what it is that you want to do. Once you have that, have your resume ready. With your resume, you typically you can have previous work experience, but they want to hear more about your Amazon experience. The previous work experience you may have had is kind of like gravy on top. The real meat of your resume should be just mostly focused on Amazon. And one thing to always include in your resume and in your interviews is you always want to talk about metrics. Metrics are really big. Numbers, any numbers and percentages that you may have that you can throw in, even if it's not entirely you that's influencing them, still take credit for them because that's what they want to hear. Once you get an invitation to an interview, they'll usually email you, and it'll be done over a application that Amazon has called Amazon Chime, and that's kind of like an instant messaging for Amazon employees, usually used for video or voice meetings, or just to message your managers in the building if you don't have access to them and things like that. So once you get that invitation for an L3 position, the interview usually takes about 30 minutes. They'll ask you 3 to 4 questions max. And it's there's a very specific method of how you answer these questions. And this method's called the STAR method. And I will try to link that or send you the link to where you can find that so you can have it on your video as well. But basically what they do there is they explain to you what are the Amazon principles and like what the questions are going to revolve around. So for example, one of the Amazon principles is customer obsession. They will ask you a question about customer obsession. And so the question will go something like this. Tell me a time of when you went above and beyond to, I don't know, say like to make sure a package is properly delivered to a customer. That would be like one of the questions, right? And so the way you have to answer it, there's a method called the STAR method. And the way the STAR method works is they'll want you to paint out the scenario first. The next step is to kind of describe the goal, the results. I believe that was it actually. Those are like the big 3. Sorry. Those are the big 3. So your response could be, there was a late trailer that came into the warehouse. So the goal was to process that entire trailer in 30 minutes before the shift was over. What you did, or sorry, it was the action and then the result. Sorry. So action and then result. The action that you took could be like, I ensured that we had enough people to finish the little sort that we had for the late trailer, and made sure that all the routes were set up properly and make sure it was routed correctly. And then we flowed at about maybe 25,000 or 2,500 packages per hour to ensure that we finished all of the volume. And then the results were that we were able to finish or we didn't finish, whatever really happened at the end. But you always want to bring up some sort of number. And another tip that I want to give out is in a lot of these terms tend to be region-based from what I've discovered. So for example, here on the West Coast, we'll call it like FPH, right? Or our flow per hour, which is how many packages we're scanning per hour. On the East Coast, I don't know what they would call it over there, but it might not be the same. So don't just use the abbreviations, use the full like acronym, or use the full meaning, right? So use FPH and then say or flow per hour, or DPMO, or defects per million opportunities. Never just use the abbreviations, because then they'll get confused, or they might get confused. After that, if they like your interview, if they liked you in the interview, they'll usually get back to you in like a week or two, and they'll give you the option of either accepting the offer that you originally applied for or what's called an incline. And the incline is highly coveted to most people because the incline basically means that you declined the original position, but it shows on your applications that you've taken an interview, and that improves your odds. And in some cases, if you try to apply to another warehouse, they won't even interview you because you have that incline. You'll just get the spot immediately. In some cases. In other cases, they'll want an interview, but the interview will be a lot faster than your original one because you have that incline. They know that you've already done it. So those are kind of the two routes that you can take. I know for higher positions, the interviews tend to be a lot longer. I know for the next level, which is the L4s, their interviews can take an hour to an hour and a half. Wow. And then L5s, I think, take like an hour and 45 minutes to almost 2 hours.
And what are those L4s and L5s, just to be like, to clarify?
L4s are like shift managers, and L5s are like, they're kind of like some of the station managers. And like L5 and 6 are kind of, they're kind of the same thing, except one's just paid a little bit more than the other. I never really found out the difference between the two because for the most part, they do the exact same thing. And then you have your L7, which is like the senior station manager, the one who runs the entire warehouse.
Yeah, okay, so like from what I got from what you're saying is like the process is actually, there's a lot of steps to it. So if you're out there looking to apply for a promotion, just know that it's a long process. There's a lot of steps you need to take, and there's a lot of like research you need to do and be able to like really understand how the job that you're currently working works. It's not really going to be a walk in the park. Like Gio said, you can only apply inside of the building itself. You have to be on Amazon grounds in order to get to this job finder, be able to apply internally to a different position. So I think it's really important to restate. And yeah.
I'll also be sure to send you, because there's an open website that can show you the STAR method. And then I believe there's a there's a video on YouTube that actually shows you the STAR method. And on the website, it shows you example questions, all of the Amazon leadership principles, or all the Amazon leadership principles. And it shows you like what types of questions, like the types of questions that they're asking are called behavioral based questions. So what they don't tell you on the website, and it's something that I cannot stress enough, is to always, if you know your stuff, always include metrics. Always talk about numbers. Talk about 10% improvement rate, 5%, unimprovement rate, right? Or, FPH, DPM, like all these little acronyms, all these little tidbits and things like that. You want to include a lot of that into your application or into your interview, because that's what they really want to hear. They also want to, they'll ask you about times where you failed as well. So you want to make sure you have some story for that. And when you're setting up your stories, there's going to be a lot of Amazon leadership principles. You want to make sure that each story kind of branches into multiple ones rather than just one. So that way, when they ask you one that you're not ready for, you can use this story for that one, because that's how you set it up. That's how you set up your story, to cover multiple points rather than just individual points.
So yeah, if you send me those links, I'll be sure to include them in the description. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll definitely have the link there. And yeah, you can look further into those. So to me, it sounds like the process takes quite a while, but I think it's probably well worth it, right? That leads me to the next question I wanted to ask you is, a lot of people out there who watch like the videos I put out care a lot about what Amazon has as far as benefits go. So with you going through that entire process, I'm sure Amazon had like additional incentives for you to move up, and yeah, put yourself through all those processes and interviews and applications and having a resume and stuff like that. So could you talk about some of the things that Amazon offered to you while being able to move up, if any at all?
Yeah, so surprisingly, the L3 spots, so the shift assistants and the process assistants, don't actually get as much as you think. It's not until you make the next big leap to the shift managers or the L4s and above where the real benefits start coming in. So essentially, my benefits as an L3 are the same as a regular full-time employee. So they have the vision, the dental, the health insurance, all that stuff. Pretty much everything that you would get, I have. The main difference between my quote unquote benefits versus yours is a pay raise. Most process assistants or shift assistants typically start at $16.50 an hour, but I've seen people start off at $18.50 an hour. I've seen people start at $20 an hour. So just dependent on, I guess, what warehouse you're applying to kind of depends, because each warehouse kind of has a budget. It's not like one budget that the entire network shares. Each warehouse kind of has its individual budget because of the sheer size. So for example, DLA 7, one of the largest delivery stations throughout the network, and they're one of the top 5 delivery stations in the network. They're one of the very few that actually have a big iron, which is a really big conveyor system that you would probably see at a fulfillment center and not really anywhere else. Shift assistants there, the L3s, they start at $18.50. But since I'm training for a warehouse that's just starting out, that's just going to launch, that's just brand new, my pay rate is only $16.50 plus whatever small raise that I've gained throughout my time working at Amazon. Because I believe every year you get a small little pay bump. Once you complete your first year, you get a small little pay bump. Second year, you complete another small pay bump. Because originally I was starting out at $15 an hour. And then after my first year, I was getting paid $15.25. And then I got a little shift differential, which bumped my raise up to $15.50. And then I got another shift differential after I transferred to DCX8, which is another delivery station, which bumped my pay rate to $15.85. So all in all, for all the responsibility I'm getting, I'm not getting too much out of it. But the big reason why I always encourage people to try to go for these L3 spots, especially if you want to move up, is because the longer you're in this L3 spot, the higher chance you have of getting that L4 spot, that manager position, because it looks so good on your resume, especially having that background, that experience. The minimum requirements for becoming a manager for any warehouse is one of two, basically. You either need to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter in what. You can have a bachelor's degree in anything. It doesn't matter what. Or you need to have 2 years of experience. So if you don't have one, you can get the other. You have 2 years of experience within Amazon. And if within those 2 years you've been an L3, it's really good. It gives you a really good advantage over these other guys who are coming in fresh out of college with the bachelor's degree with no real experience. So already you have kind of an edge over these guys. And then once you become an L4, they switch you over to salary. Most L4s and above start at about, I think, 40 to 50,000 a year salary. They get more vacation hours, I believe. They get all the benefits from the other positions. Plus, they'll get to travel around a lot. So, for example, if your warehouse is doing well, what they'll want you to do sometimes is they'll want to send you out to another warehouse to kind of teach them how they can improve. And so that comes with like the benefits of like paid travel. So they'll pay for your like room, your hotel or whatever, however long you're out there, they will pay for it. And the work that you do over there is also paid for based off your salary as well. So you have more opportunities to keep branching out. And really the spot you want to get to is the L5 and above, because then L5s and above, I believe, make anywhere between $65,000 to $75,000 a year. So it's quite a large pay raise from being a manager at a warehouse. But right now, it's just when you're an L3, it's very frustrating because you're easily overworked, and in a lot of unfortunate cases, a lot of managers will start relying on you too much and they'll basically take advantage of you. But just pay your dues for a little bit and try to get to a manager spot as soon as possible. That's the big thing. Make sure you learn what you can as an L3, so that way when you move to the L4 spot, you have a chance of taking your previous manager's position, because they're no longer performing, you're doing all the work.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So I actually wanted to ask you, like, do you feel like you're working more now as a L3 employee as compared to like when you're at a position like mine, like towards the bottom? You feel like it's harder now or before?
It's definitely harder now, especially because so back then, all I had to do was punch in, stow, pick a few routes, I'd call it a day. I'd be in 6:45, I'd be out 1:45 regular time, right? Now, if I were to still be an L3 because I'm gonna be an L3 at a sortation center, so I'm not too sure of the process there. But if I was an L3 at a delivery station, I would come in. My start time would be like 6 a.m., but they would want me to come in at 4:30 in the morning, set up the dock, set up the Avery scanners, get the staffing done. Once all that's complete, I make sure that the pre-charge, so our small sort before our big sort happens, I make sure we hit the minimum that we need in order for us to finish the sort altogether. After that, I would have to make sure that everyone's labor tracked, which is a really big thing. I have to clear things like TOT, send hourly reports to managers. I have to do what's called a GIMBA at the end of sort, which is basically kind of like a end of the day report for the higher managers to see how we did that day. So I'd have to set up the board, get all the information for that, and I would have to present it. After that, I would have to come back to my area, make sure that everyone's doing what they're doing, labor track people that need to get labor tracked, make sure that everyone's picking routes. I would then have to start setting up, I'd have to then start setting up, the staffing for the next day. So making sure that all the magnets or all the people that are gone for the weekend are taken off the board, and I put the people that are coming in on the board, make sure that I'm staffing correctly. So that means that I have to know pretty much everyone's strengths and weaknesses. Once that's done, I do audits at the end of the day. I try to save that for the end of the day, but I kind of get in trouble for it sometimes. So I'll have to do something called like the pile audit, which is basically I take a huge walk around the whole building to see where we have like loose packages that are just kind of waiting to be taken somewhere. Anything that needs to go back to the FCs or anything that's at the wrong station that has to get sent out, and I have to report that. And I have to make sure that reset is pretty much done for the entire shift. So by the end of the day, after I'm done with everything, it's usually about 3:30 to 4 o'clock almost.
Dang. So that's what, like 9 hours a day when
Usually.
you're supposed to be there for like 5.
Basically.
Wow. And like a lot of that stuff you talked about, there's like a lot more responsibilities that sound like just from like a small one level up type of promotion. You get way more responsibilities. Do you think the additional pay that you get for that is worth it?
No, I to this day I still don't think it's worth it. But like I said, if you have the mentality of, well, I should be getting paid more for this, then moving up is not a good option for you, because Amazon has this thing where a lot of people are trapped in these kind of flex roles. That's kind of a nickname that we have for them, where basically they're doing their work plus the next level above them's work. And you're kind of stuck doing that for a while until you get to that next level. And the way they say it is so that you get the experience. I think that's just a way to force you to do more labor. But at the same time, the experience is pretty good because, like I said, the manager that's underperforming, because they do performance reviews on managers. The manager that's underperforming and gets fired, well, that's a spot that might be for you. That's a spot that you can apply to and you could take over. So it'll be frustrating to be in this flex role. It's frustrating for me a little bit sometimes. It's definitely frustrating for my other friends who became L3s. They're definitely overworked and stressed. But at the end of the day, they have the mentality of, I just got to do this now. And then once I see an opportunity at this warehouse or any other warehouse, I can apply to it. And based off the knowledge and experience that I have a pretty good chance of getting it. Because a lot of people, they want that manager position. They don't want to work up to it. They just want to get it immediately, especially people that are coming fresh out of college. They want to just get to a manager spot immediately because they have a degree. But there's a lot of practicality in Amazon that they will not show you at school. You have to actually do the work to learn about it. And that's where becoming an L3 kind of has that advantage, is you are surrounded by people constantly that have the same frustrations as you, that do the same work as you, and you know how to improve the process.
Yeah, I see like a lot of people who talk about this in the comments. They get really frustrated with the managers, and they say that most of them are just young kids coming straight out of college, know nothing about Amazon, know nothing about what it's like working inside the warehouse, and they're just doing what they're told. I guess kind of like a monkey, and then they're just saying how these managers are really incompetent of understanding what the job's all about. And so, yeah, I feel like if you take the route that you're talking about, where you start at the bottom and then you work your way up and know everything about the warehouse, all the ins and outs, I think it's 100% better than any kid who comes out of college with a 4-year degree can provide, no matter what he studies. I want to actually transition into a different topic, not really about what we do specifically, but I want to talk a little bit more about Amazon with the coronavirus. How would you rate Amazon's performance with regards to dealing with this virus? Do you think that Amazon's taking the right precautions to provide its employees with the best possible safety and health, or do you think that they're underperforming in that aspect?
I think in the beginning they were severely underperforming, especially because in my areas there was a bunch of warehouses that got a huge spike of cases at the beginning, and rather than actually shutting down, they kept operations going. So that's where I was pretty frustrated with Amazon as a whole, just because if I was them, I would shut down some warehouses, keep other warehouses open a little bit, and then open up those warehouses once we've like kind of decontaminated, close off the other ones, and kind of do a wide sweep that way. So that way we're still sending out packages, because a lot of people right now are relying on Amazon to get whatever package they need, even if it's as simple as, you know, a video game or something, right? That video game for that individual could be escape from what's going on around them. And that's kind of the mentality that I've taken it as. That's why I think our job is really, really important. So at the very beginning, I feel like we should have shut down a couple warehouses, decontaminated as much as we can, reopened them, and continued with the cleaning efforts, these sanitation efforts, and kept doing that across all the other Amazon warehouses. Right now, I think they've largely improved. I would probably rate them like maybe a 7 out of 10. They've largely improved how they handle it. They are constantly cleaning everything from all of the handheld devices that we use to the bags that we use. They're constantly cleaning the conveyor belts all the time. Any guard railings, doors, restrooms, they have a team that usually comes in and actually sprays down this like disinfectant stuff that we have to clear out, because apparently if we breathe it in, it's pretty bad for us. So they'll actually bring in a team of people to actually start spraying down like the different areas that we use and work at. And we'll have to wait like 30 minutes to an hour to be able to come back to that area. We have a large amount of face masks now. The main issue that I'm having, however, is the 6 feet social distancing. I'll notice managers and some associates constantly breaking this rule, which is not good. But at the same time, if we do follow this rule, productivity starts going down, because it's really, really hard to keep up the rates that they're asking us for and maintaining this like 6 feet social distancing, right? So for example, if I'm picking a route at a delivery station, I have to go into an aisle and pull out these bags. Only one person's allowed in an aisle at a time. However, we're on a timer for these routes. We usually have about 20 to 30 minutes to finish these routes. But if we maintain the 6 feet social distancing rule, we end up taking 40 to 50 minutes to an hour per route, which puts us really far behind as far as like the waves are concerned. And if that happens, a shift assistant or someone who's not picking any routes, we call them like gatekeepers and sweepers, they'll come and talk to us and say like, hey, what's going on? Can I help you with the route? And it's not that we need help with the route. It's that there's someone else in the aisle and I can't go get the rest of my bags until they come out. And then I can go in. So to do the process efficiently is really hard for what they're asking us. If they were a little more lenient on the rates, I think that I would think Amazon would be doing a fantastic job. But for that big reason alone, it's kind of really hard to keep up with what they're asking for, plus maintaining all the social distancing.
Yeah, I think like they definitely should have reduced the rates. I agree with you with that. But for them, they kind of like, they just want to like push you as much as you can, basically. Just want as much margins of success as they could get, which it's understandable. They have a lot of orders probably right now because of the pandemic, but I think at some point you have to take a step back and realize that you're employing hundreds of thousands of warehouse employees across the nation, and these people's healths are really important, and they don't want to be pushed to the limit, especially during a pandemic.
Right. They're
Yeah.
taking their time to come out, risking their own lives, risking their families' lives to get the job done. Cut us some slack, give us a little break here.
Yeah, I mean, but it is what it is. You can't really change them. You can only talk about how they should change. But another thing I want to talk about is on the A to Z app, how many times are you getting notifications about employees in your warehouse or your old warehouse? How often do you get notifications about new cases popping up? Because I know for me, I was getting them back in May when I started. It was a lot more frequent than it is now, but I was getting them at least 2 times a week talking about how employees in my warehouse have tested positive, but these employees were tested positive or like last on site 2 weeks ago, like, or a week and a half ago from the time they send us all the notification. So it's kind of like pointless to be able to send that out and then knowing that it's been 2 weeks, you don't really have contact with this guy anymore. So I think they could have done a better job at that. But for you, how often were you getting notifications at your location?
At my first location, DLA 7, I think I spiked at 4 times a week.
Dang.
And then it suddenly just dropped like a rock. We would get like 1 or 2 every other week. So like it started off at like 1 case, maybe 2 weeks, 2 cases a week. And then like, I think in July, August, I got like 4 notifications in a week. And I was like, yeah, they're going to have to shut down this warehouse. And then after that, it went back to 1, maybe 2 cases a week. And then at the other warehouse, DCX8 that I was at, I think in total, I was only there for a month, but in total, I got like maybe 3, maybe 2 notifications about COVID-19 cases over there. And that makes sense to me just because that warehouse is newer and very small, whereas DLA 7, on my shift alone, we would have about 120, 130 employees, not including pick and stage shift, which had about 90 to 100 employees, not including all the drivers that were coming in, not including the managers that were around. And we just had a lot of people at one time. So it makes more sense for me to get a lot more cases at DLA 7 versus DCX 8. But at the same time, 4 cases in 1 week, that's kind of sketchy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think at the beginning, Amazon could have definitely done a better job at being able to bring out. I think they should have at least tested a bit. For me, they weren't doing that. And I think they could have definitely done that. Would have helped a lot. Instead they just like do the temperature checks and ask you if you're okay, and those are all like easy to pass through. But yeah, that's all the questions I had actually. Was there any like final tips or advice you wanted to give to any of the viewers out there watching who are looking for some like motivation before they start working at Amazon?
Yeah, so my biggest thing is a lot of people tend to fear the amount of work and how they work you at Amazon. And there are a lot of horror stories. Don't get me wrong. I do not deny a single one of them. But a lot of those horror stories are for fulfillment centers. They're not for delivery stations. They're not for sortation centers. In my opinion, a delivery station is the easiest warehouse you can work at Amazon, and it's pretty decent pay. A lot of these newer delivery stations are opening up full-time positions, which is something that wasn't done before. I started off as part-time when I got into my delivery station. Then they changed me to reduced time. And then when I transferred to my new warehouse at DCX8, they changed me to full-time. So you're definitely getting a lot of hours at these newer warehouses. And the job is super, super easy. It's boring work, yes, but it's super easy. So don't be, if you hear a horror story from a friend, it most likely came from an FC. The delivery stations aren't that bad. Trust me, they're nowhere near as bad as FCs are. So don't be too afraid of it. And if you want the hard work, you definitely have more opportunity to get paid more at an FC because they have longer hours. They have shift differentials that can go up to like $17 an hour for base pay. I have a buddy that recently got hired onto a FC close to my house, and he started off getting paid more than I am right now as a shift assist or as a process assistant. He's getting 17 an hour. I'm getting 16.50, and he's just doing the regular level 1 work. So if you have incentives for pay, definitely, and benefits. They always offer really good benefits. And then if you're looking to move up, learn what you can when you first start. Learn everything you can. Put yourself in a bunch of different roles. Even if you don't like it, just grind it out for like a week or two. Make sure you master it. And then start putting yourself out there to learn those higher, more responsible roles. Always put yourself out there. A lot of these managers, they have 150 to 200 employees to look over. It's kind of hard to find that one associate that wants to move up because they have a bunch to go through. So put yourself out there, right? Ask them, can I do something that has a little more responsibility? Can I do quality checks? Can I do problem solving? Can I do, sweeping, gatekeeping, whatever it is that they offer that doesn't usually require the regular manual work? And then that way they can start looking at your performance individually. They'll see, okay, I'm stowing at, like, you're at a delivery station, you're stowing at 350 packages per hour. That's pretty good. Our station standard is 300 packages, so you're doing a fantastic job. Your pick rate for routes, we want you to do it in 20 minutes. You're doing it in 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So they'll start seeing that performance more out of you. They're not going to come to you. They're going to want you to go to them. And that's what a lot of good workers are frustrated with, is that they think that a manager is going to come to them and recognize them. They're not, because they have way too many associates to keep track of on top of everything else that they're doing. So put yourself out there and you'll have an easier time moving up through Amazon.
Yeah, I think that's a really important fact, honestly, because a lot of people, I feel like, especially at the fulfillment center, which is where I'm at, you get your own station. You're really just there by yourself doing whatever for 12 hours in my case. And you can really be like, it's kind of like best for introverts, honestly. So being able to get out of your comfort zone, being able to go out there, ask for different roles, being able to get noticed is something I think a lot of people are going to be not accustomed to. But I think it's really important to be able to do if you're looking to make Amazon a career like you've started doing and are succeeding at. So I think it's a really good tip. I'm glad you were able to bring that up. And as far as the pay goes, I can confirm that your friend was right. Fulfillment centers do pay more. For me, they pay me $17.90 an hour, even though,
God, man.
even though I started in May, it was week 1. They just give me that as a level 1 worker, or not level 1. As a level 1, we're warehouse workers. Yeah, so level 1. Yeah, so $17.90, good deal. But yeah, I want to thank you, Gio, again for coming onto the channel and being able to give so much great insight about the job itself, the promotions, the benefits, the entire process of how you want to move up the ladder. I think a lot of videos out there, or a lot of people, just don't really understand how it works, especially me before talking to you today. So again, big thank you for being able to come on. If you guys are watching and you have any other questions that we might not have answered, or Gio might not have answered, definitely leave it in the comments below. If we get enough responses, then we can definitely do a follow-up video for you guys and answer those questions as well. I think Gio has a lot more insight than I have. So again, I'm really thankful that he was able to come on today. And yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.
All right, guys, I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you can take some of this information and put it into your Amazon career. Again, big thanks to Gio for taking time out of his day to bring you guys a lot of useful information. So if you made it this far, drop a big thank you to Gio in the comment section below. And if you guys want to come onto the channel one day, let me know in the comment section below. My goal is that one day I'll be able to have a current or former Amazon warehouse manager come on and talk to you guys one day. I think that would be really, really cool. I think having an actual Amazon manager's perspective would be really useful for those new employees out there who are watching. And yeah, hopefully one day I can bring that to you guys. But until that day comes, click over here and over here to watch some of my other Amazon videos, and click right here to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm hoping to do more interviews like this in the future. I think they provide a different perspective and opinions on the job itself. So look out for more of those coming soon, and I'll see you guys in the next video.